from the mountains of South America to a major city in Western Europe. Jeremy, would you come? I'd like to have Jeremy Otten talk with you about the ministry that he and his wife Christy have in Belgium.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize, it's just me, my wife Christy, and the boys are back home in Belgium, but I'll try to represent us well. There's our family. We are in Leuven, Belgium. It's about 20 miles to the east of Brussels. And I love the segue you gave because Greg and Faith, I feel like we ought to hang out sometime. Totally different contexts, but very similar ministries in terms of training and counseling and care. I'll go into that in just a minute, but it's amazing how God, we all have those same needs, and God sort of puts us in those places, and we adapt to the culture and the particular needs of the environment. We are in Leuven, Belgium. There's our beautiful city, neo-Gothic architecture, great chocolate. The Belgians actually invented French fries. The American soldiers in World War I heard French when they ate them, so they called them French fries, but they were in the French-speaking part of Belgium. My neighbors would like you to know that. So that is a wonderful part of the culture that we have taken in. We have fries every week for dinner, at least once a week. That's a very Belgian thing. You get some sausage on the sides, but fries are the main course. And then you can have some mayonnaise or some spicy sauce. Come and visit me. I'll show you, and you will come away a believer. But we don't just eat fries and chocolate. There's a lot going on in the country. And just to highlight a little bit, so I do theological education. There's a major university in Leuven, Belgium. That's why we're there. I teach in the New Testament department. There's our building there. It looks a little bit like a castle. Really inspiring place to work. I sit up literally in an ivory tower. It's this white tower. And do my research. But one of the challenges that the church across Europe and even here in the U.S., but it's very pronounced in Belgium, is this sort of division. Before we moved to Belgium, a missionary sort of ironically told us the church in Belgium is small, but at least it's divided. And sadly, we have found that to be true. And the divisions. One of the lines that divisions fall along are this divide of legalism on the one hand and this sort of freedom, cheap grace mentality on the other hand. And that's not unique. We see that here in the United States. Paul wrote directly about that to the Corinthians. But we really struggle with that. And I'm an elder in our Flemish church. And we see this, any particular issue that comes up, one faction says, well, this is the way we've always done it, and so this is the biblical way. And the other faction says we need to keep up with the times, where church looks outdated and we look backwards if we can't keep up with society. And both sides think they're being biblical, but there's such a lack of theological foundation of what does the Bible actually say. And in our church, for a while, I was the only one on the elder board with any theological education. Our pastor hadn't finished his master's or his seminary degree yet. And so we're facing these intense issues that you're facing here in the U.S. as well, identity issues, sexuality issues, political issues, but without any theological foundation to approach them. And so kind of recognizing that has given me a passion to educate, to train the pastors. Our pastor just completed his seminary degree. We're excited. He's actually thinking about a PhD now. So he's caught the bug. And Belgium is in desperate need of pastors with education, congregations with education. And so one of the other things I've launched is we just do an adult Sunday school. Very, very basic, but what does the Bible say? What does the Bible say about this, about that? And so we gather together, we have coffee and donuts, and we just talk about the Bible. And so it's an exciting way I don't have a lot of mustard seeds that I can plant. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not great with people. I'm not like this, real great evangelist. But I do really like to study the Bible, and I can communicate it. And so I'm planting my mustard seeds in the church and the classroom and anywhere that I can go, and by God's grace, it's starting to grow. The other half of our ministry, my wife Christy is a counselor. She's a licensed counselor. She worked here in the Wheaton area for a while before we went on the mission field. And there's a lot of need just in Belgium. There are very, very few counselors and almost no Christian counselors. And so she meets a tremendous need there just within the country. But missionaries need help too. I love how Faith just said that we have these needs. And so my wife is responsible for member care within our mission for Europe and the Middle East. And I don't know if you've looked at the news in the last 3 years, but Europe's having kind of a rough time of it, Europe and the Middle East. And so the Ukraine war, the Lebanon harbor explosion, earthquake in Morocco, war in Israel and Palestine. God has missionaries in all of those places. And so my wife has done, she's specialized in trauma care, and so she does a lot of the sort of psychological first aid for missionaries who are in these places, either by going to them or via Zoom. And then also just living overseas, a lot of the missionaries have experienced this. The support systems you had in the U.S. aren't necessarily there when you go to another country. You know, you live in the U.S., you have panic attacks, and you know, okay, I can just go to the bathroom and just be myself and get over it. You go to Europe, and they don't have public bathrooms everywhere. And so that support system that helped you manage here isn't there. And so my wife is helping missionaries who have all these sorts of things kind of stirred up, or their kids are having problems, and she can help the kids. And doing that's her. She's got more mustard seeds than I do by far, but she scatters those out, and that helps missionaries have a longevity that they wouldn't otherwise have because of the personal needs and things that arise. So I think that's all I've got. And but that's what we do in Belgium. Thank you so much for your prayers. And I did want to mention, I'm with the consortium. There are a couple of us consortium missionaries. So I was from College Church originally and got adopted into the Wheaton Bible family through the consortium. And I just want to say I'm so grateful for this community that has really embraced us. And the prayers, the notes of encouragement that we get are truly, truly encouraging for us in our ministry.
I was thinking deeply about the things Jeremy was saying, including that the lack of public bathrooms in Europe can also be a cause for panic, can be a cause for anxiety. Jeremy talked about studying theology in an ivory tower, but in visiting him at ETF, I was heartened to see many students from the nations and many young students who are wonderful carriers of those kingdom seeds. And it also did not escape my notice that the school also was housing Ukrainian refugees as a part of their being the church in that community.